Am I a communist? What are my political beliefs? In this video, I take the political compass test. Make sure to smash that like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so that you never miss a video. Now let's go. So we are here on politicalcompass.org to take the political compass test. It's page 1. Just a few problems to start with concerning, no less, how you see the country and the world. The first one. So these are not questions, but they're answers, and you rank how much you agree or disagree with them. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. I strongly agree with that. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I do agree that you should like your country, however, that does not excuse bad things. No one chooses their country at birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think it's good to be proud of your country. Not in a nationalist way, though. I do not feel like saying that out loud, but no, I strongly disagree with it. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I agree with that to a certain extent. You may not agree with everything that another political party stands for, but you can compromise and get things done. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I gotta disagree with this. I do not support war. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I agree with this to a certain point, but not in the paranoid conservative way. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I strongly agree. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I mildly disagree. I think they are both important. I wouldn't say that one is more important than the other, but unemployment directly affects the people. So does inflation in a way, but I think it is good for people to have jobs, of course. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I strongly agree. Amazon isn't going to do anything on its own to save the environment, so we must regulate. From each according to his ability to each according to his needs, a fundamentally good idea. Yeah, I agree with that. The freer the market, the freer the people. I strongly disagree. Capitalism does not help the people. It helps the very few top 1%, the business owners. It doesn't help the homeless. It doesn't help the unemployed. It doesn't help the average people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck. So I do not agree that the freer the market, the freer the people. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. I strongly agree with that. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I agree that it shouldn't be I agree that you should be able to get a house and that it shouldn't just be an asset like that. However, I think you should be able to own land, which is why I'm doing mildly agree. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Jeff Bezos. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I agree that protectionism can be necessary sometimes. I don't have a very strong view on this, to be completely honest. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit to its shareholders. I completely disagree. The people should come before profit 100% of the time. The rich are too highly taxed. I completely disagree. They always dodge tax. They pay less in tax than school workers do. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. They shouldn't have to pay. No one should have to pay for health care. It can come out of your taxes, but it should not be privatized at all. I strongly disagree. Everyone should get the best care that they can so that there is nothing better to get. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I strongly agree with that. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I strongly agree, because without restrictions on corporations, they can create monopolies, as the proposition said, and that can harm the people. Page 3 of 6. Now let's look at some of your personal social values. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I strongly disagree with that. Abortion should be up to the person who it's getting done to. All authority should be questioned. I mildly disagree with that. I think it is good to have checks and balances, of course. I think that there are many states that are overly authoritarian, of course, but I do not think that all authority should be questioned. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I would say that I mildly agree with this. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I strongly disagree with that. Museums are for history and different things, and they shouldn't have to be commercialized. They should be free. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I strongly disagree with that. People need a good education. And the better the education, the better the life that you have. All people have their rights, but it is better for us that different sorts of people should keep their own. I strongly disagree with that. That felt uncomfortable to say. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I disagree with that. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Well, yes, of course. That is just a part of growing up. Like, everyone does that. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I strongly agree with that. People get sent to prison just for doing marijuana when I would not say it's worse than alcohol at all. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I agree. It is to get people educated so that they can find jobs and have a good life. So I strongly agree. People with serious and heritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. I strongly disagree with that. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. I mildly disagree. I think it is good to have discipline, but I don't think that it is the most important thing. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. I strongly agree with that. We see different societies through the lens of where we are from. For me, it would be like from the lens of a Western country, but to them, we would seem just as unusual because it's just not what you're used to. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I mildly agree with this. I think it is good to have like a safety net, of course, social safety net. But if they're able to work and they just don't work and they're fully able, then to a certain point, like they're still a human, like they should still get support, but I don't know, it's a difficult one. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. I strongly agree with that. It's good to be upbeat. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I strongly disagree with that. But I also don't think that it matters that much. I don't know. It doesn't matter personally to me. What's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for all of us. I strongly disagree with that. What is good for the average person is always ultimately good for all of us. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I strongly disagree. It is good to have things like PBS and C-SPAN and things of that sort. I think that they should receive public funding as they do. And I think some organizations like those are underfunded. Next page. And how you see the wider society. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I agree. I disagree with the Patriot Act. So I strongly agree. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in democratic political system. I strongly disagree. I am not for over-authoritarianism. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I strongly disagree. We've seen this in in 1984. George Orwell warned us about this. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. See, that is a difficult one because there's always, if you say no, there is always like some crime that someone could say that makes you seem bad. I am going to put mildly disagree. Almost certainly not for almost any crime. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I disagree with that. I get it is kind of the like cultural framework that we have today, but I don't feel super strongly about it. I think all people should be equal though. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. To be completely honest, I don't care. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I strongly disagree. Rehabilitation is a good option for almost all crimes. I strongly agree that rehabilitation is very important because otherwise what's the point? Like, it's not going to change anything. It's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I strongly disagree. Like I just said, rehabilitation is extremely important. The businessman and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. I strongly disagree with. The business person I strongly disagree with. The manufacturer, if you mean by the people doing the labor, then they're also important. But if you mean like the corporation, I strongly disagree. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I strongly disagree with that. It is up to them. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming. Strongly agree. The climate is the biggest issue of the century. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I disagree. I disagree with that. I think that the establishment can be harmful. But also that is very vague and just depends on more specific things. If you got through that okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. Astrology accurately explains many things. I strongly disagree, but I don't have anything against you if you do astrology. You cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree. I think religion can help, but I think you can be fully moral without being religious, of course. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I disagree. I think that charity is obviously good, but Social Security and like government programs are very important. Some people are naturally unlucky. This is a vague question, but if you mean just like they're born and they're just unlucky, I disagree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. I disagree. The final page. A look at sex. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. I strongly disagree. I just think it's up to the people consenting belief, like whatever they believe in. It's up to them. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I strongly agree. There's no reason to exclude them. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. I strongly agree. Even though it can be harmful, some people say, and I sort of agree that it's harmful, what goes on in the private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I strongly agree. If they're consenting, it doesn't matter to the state. It shouldn't matter to the state, I should say. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I strongly disagree with that. People can feel queer, obviously. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. I disagree. Now let's see where we stand. Am I a communist? So we have the authoritarian, libertarian, left and right spectrums. So that would be communist, no Germans. Not sure if I can say that on YouTube. Centrist, anarcho-communist, and anarcho-capitalist. I am. Oh yeah, North Korea, China, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Uruguay, Switzerland. And I am 9.25 points out of 10 left economically, and 5.49 socially libertarian. I have never got that far left of a score before. That is honestly impressive, as I kind of think of myself as a moderate sometimes. But I suppose we all think we're moderates because we all think that our own ideals are rational. Well, this has been a fun video. Make sure to smash that like and gently tap the subscribe button and ring the bell thoroughly. And have a good day. Follow me on Twitter at ProgressiveEmma. Follow Wisconsin Advance at WiscAdvance. Go to WisconsinAdvance.com for the news. Goodbye.